Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our WELL webinar shorts on the American Rescue Plan. I am joined by Chris Condeluci, who is an employee and ACA legal specialist. He joined us for the last shorts to talk about the ARP as a whole. And this slide, for those of you who saw it, may look familiar. And today, he's going to join us to speak mostly on the Cobra benefits. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris.
All right, thanks, and thanks again for joining us. I almost feel like I needed a costume change in between the first short and the second short. So forgive me for the consistent look, but consistency is a good thing, right?
Right.
What we wanted to do, actually, Sarah, go back to the first slide, if you'd be so kind.
Sure.
What we mentioned in our first short is that the American Rescue Plan had some healthcare-related items, but the primary purpose of the American Rescue Plan was non-healthcare related, attacking the COVID pandemic, providing funding to state and local governments, providing funding to businesses, providing to families and individuals. This next short, we are going to talk about some of the healthcare, or at least one of the healthcare pieces to the American Rescue Plan. And what we're doing, signifying here, is in the slide that you see in front of you, the blue bar, the Cobra benefit. That's the healthcare piece that came in through the American Rescue Plan that we are going to talk about today. But we did want you to see once again, American Rescue Plan, the left side, everything that's non-healthcare related, some of the individual relief, which we talked about in the first short, and now let's attack Cobra. Go ahead and go to the next slide for me, Sarah. So, Cobra. As many know, Cobra is a continuation of coverage benefit. Every group health plan out there, and a group health plan includes a major medical plan, it includes dental and vision, it includes an HRA, for example. So, whatever the law says is a quote-unquote group health plan, Cobra applies. Now, when folks elect Cobra, folks being employees who have what's termed a qualifying event, and under current law, you have qualifying events like death, disability, divorce, birth of a child, adoption of a child. You also have qualifying events that relate to employment, voluntary termination, involuntary termination, and reduction of hours. And I'll tell you why it's important for me ticking through those qualifying events. But the point of the matter is, Cobra continuation coverage benefit available to employees, only available to group health plans. And I'll actually caveat that a little bit later because there are some state continuation coverage programs out there. But generally speaking, that's the rules of the road that we wanted to establish. And what you see here in this particular slide is pretty simple. Under current law, or at least pre-American Rescue Plan, if an employee who had one of those qualifying events elected Cobra coverage, they pay not only 100% of their premium, but 102% of the total cost, the 2% being an administrative cost associated with administering the Cobra benefit, which to an extent is a high price tag for an employee who typically is getting a 70%, 80% subsidy from their employer, where the employee is only paying, again, 20 to 30% of the premium. Well, now they're paying about 100 to 102%. Well, Congress recognized that, especially in the wake of the pandemic, employees, especially losing their job involuntarily or their hours are being reduced, which are the two qualifiers for this particular Cobra benefit, this federal Cobra subsidy, the federal government will cover 100% of those Cobra premiums. There's really no need for the 2% because the employer generally eats that administrative cost. So if you're an employee and if you are involuntarily terminated or your hours were reduced such that you lost eligibility for your group health plan, you are eligible for a Cobra subsidy per the American Rescue Plan. Now, again, as you would expect, it's temporary. The pandemic's not going to last forever, and Congress can only spend so much money. So this particular benefit, this federal Cobra subsidy, is available from April 1 through September 21st. So it will expire September 30 of 2021. So if you're talking to your clients, ask them if they've been involuntarily terminated or their hours were reduced such that they lost coverage, because they could be eligible for a federal Cobra subsidy. Go ahead and go to the next slide for me, Sarah, please. And as Sarah's moving these slides, what we wanted to do is we wanted to give you a little bit of more detail on this federal Cobra subsidy, because the Department of Labor issued some guidance in April. And that guidance provided more meat on the bone of this federal Cobra subsidy requirement. And we received a number of questions on the NAHU webinar that we gave more broadly on the American Rescue Plan. And I'll just tick through what we have here in the interest of time. Now, an employer is required to send a notice to Cobra subsidy eligible, Cobra eligible employees who are involuntarily terminated or experience a reduction in hours such that they're eligible. Now, if it was a person who was involuntarily terminated today and or their hours were reduced today, the employer sends this notice, says, hey, not only are you eligible for Cobra, you're eligible for the Cobra subsidy. But Congress, recognizing that a lot of employees who were involuntarily terminated or experienced a reduction in hour in 2020 don't have coverage. And they want folks to get coverage. They, being Congress, want to get coverage. So those folks in 2020 who were involuntarily terminated or their hours were reduced and who are Cobra eligible can actually elect to be to receive the Cobra subsidy here. But let me make it clear. The Cobra subsidy for those folks that might have been terminated in 2020 or hours were reduced in 2020, the Cobra subsidy is not available retroactive to that 2020 involuntary termination or reduction in hour date. The subsidies are only available, as I articulated in the slide previously, April 1 through September 30th. But if someone never elected Cobra back in 2020 and they're still Cobra eligible now, they can not only elect Cobra, but they can elect the Cobra subsidy from April 1 to September 30th. So it's very important to understand that there's some retroactivity here with respect to eligibility. There's prospective with regard to the benefit. Now, speaking of eligibility, you see in the middle part of the slide here, if an employee is eligible for other coverage, either through their spouse or through Medicare, or they actually happen to get another job, but they didn't enroll in their employer plan, as long as they're eligible, they are not eligible for the Cobra subsidy under the American Rescue Plan. And that's a change under current law. So again, importantly, ask your employee who might have been involuntarily terminated or hours reduced such that they're Cobra eligible. You got to ask them if they're eligible for other coverage, Medicare, spouse, through a new employer that they just might not have enrolled, because that will negate their eligibility. And lastly here, another important thing, we get this question a lot, and I mentioned this earlier. Dental and or vision coverage is a group health plan under the law. So if an employee, while they were active, had dental coverage or vision coverage or had both, they can elect Cobra for each of those coverages, and they can receive the Cobra subsidy to pay for the premiums of that coverage. Again, they had to have it when they were active, and it depends on which one you had. You can't elect a new piece of coverage and get the subsidy in this particular case. Next slide for me, Sarah, please. In the interest of time, I'm going to move through this one quickly, but these are a couple dates that you need to worry about. I'll start really at the bottom. An employer must send a notification to all of these Cobra subsidy eligible employees by May 31st, and then go to the top of our slide. Once that employee gets that notice, they have 60 days to elect Cobra and fill out the necessary paperwork to be eligible for the subsidy. If the employee fails to elect within those 60 days, they lose the benefit. So know that it's very important for these folks, for your customers and your clients, be them your employer or employees or whoever you're talking to, that they understand these dates. Go ahead and go to the next slide for me, Sarah, please.
We are at the end, and again, I want to thank you, Chris, for walking us through Cobra in the shorts. To recap, the Cobra benefits are extended till September of 2021. Losing Cobra is a qualifying life event, which means that a consumer, your client, can enroll when they lose Cobra even after August 15th, 2021. And as always, WELL can help you and your clients enroll in subsidized ACA coverage. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today and walking us through the Cobra piece of the ARP, and I hope this was beneficial to those of you who were listening. And as always, be well.